Apologies for absence.
Councillor Harewood.
Okay, thank you. And then declarations of interest. Yes, Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Chair. Declaration of interest in relation to item 10.6, the allotment policy, as the chairman of the Brookfield Lane Allotments Association.
Thank you.
Non-pecuniary.
Yeah, thank you. Any others? Well, I have a declaration. Again, it's non-pecuniary on item 9.1. I'm a trustee of the CAB. So we'll now move on to public speaking. And I believe we do have a member of the public here wishing to speak, Lynn Jones. So can I ask you to unmute, Lynn, and give us your piece.
Hi, good evening. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'll come to sort of why I'm talking, why I'm here saying this in a moment. But just to start off, so I want to talk to you about the town centre. I've got some notes here on a separate screen, so forgive me if I'm looking away slightly. So you know, we know today was another kind of key stage in moving out of a loosening lockdown with the shops opening. I've no idea how it went today. I don't know if any of you have, but I wanted to ask whether we're sure that we're doing the best for Macclesfield to help it out of crisis and into recovery. And it's not just about recovery, it's about building back better. Are we sure that we're doing everything we can and pulling out all the stops in order to make that happen? And frankly, I'm worried, which is why I'm here. I know some of you, I don't know everybody, so just to say the reason why I've picked up some of this and I wanted to come and talk to you tonight is, you know, my background. I'm a journalist. I chaired the Hustings-led general election in December in the town. I don't know if you saw that. And I was involved in setting up Barnaby a decade ago, and I ran with a colleague ran the 2 TEDx Macclesfield talks in sessions in 18 and 19. So I know quite a lot of people, or people know me, and there are quite a lot of conversations going on, as I'm sure you know. But the ones I'm hearing are about what is Macclesfield doing, and there is a general consensus among the small group of people that I'm in touch with, that the town council seems strangely invisible at what is an absolutely key time. And I'm sure that you wouldn't want that to be the case, because I think the town council should be absolutely centre stage. This is surely why we created, you got the support to create a town council. So just a few things I wanted to run through. Most of it, forgive me for teaching my grandparents, I'm sure you know this, but my concern is that I wanted to ask you really to think really hard as a town council about whether or not you're doing the most that you can to move us out of a crisis and towards recovery, because the role the town council will play is crucial. And in fact, it won't happen if the town council is not involved, because we absolutely know that collaboration and good partnerships in towns is what makes things work and brings success. The town centre was struggling before. We'd be naive to think it's just going to go back to what it was before, or even that would be enough. Town centres need to create their own new normal, don't they? They need to be locally focused, they need to be sustainable, they need to be enjoyable places to be, and that will look different now to what it would have looked when we've been talking about it in the past. So it's a kind of hugely important moment to draw all the town's resources together, and that we not only have a Cheshire East, we have a town council. We, as you know, you've been funding some of them through the emergency grants programme. We have a fantastic community network of organisations. We have really good cultural assets, we have really good physical assets, we have really good individuals and social groups who can all be drawn together to start thinking about how to bring this forward. So I'm perplexed as to why there is no obvious economic recovery or town centre focused item on your agenda tonight. When you look on your website and it says, what do we do as a council? The second thing it says is economic development. There's a section on economic town centre regeneration in your vision strategy, but I'm not hearing or seeing. It may be there, but I'm not seeing it. And if it's there and I'm not seeing it, then there's obviously a communications issue. And I understand that Cheshire East is being left to lead, and we know that there's been a tension between Town Council and Cheshire East, but you know, if there was a time for trying to sort these things out and for achieving the impossible, this seems to be the moment. And in a way, we can't afford not to work together. So the other irony, if you like, is that we have a load of expertise, obviously, in Macclesfield, and particularly, you know, we have the country's foremost expert on town centre regeneration and high streets living in Macclesfield. And there's an irony that we're not pulling her in to be part of a conversation. We also have one of the foremost experts in the country, actually in Europe, about how local authorities can mobilise their spending to support and develop local economies. So again, you know, why aren't we tapping into those people who are willing to be part of the conversation? Other organisations in the town, important organisations, some of them you will know, I've been speaking to, they're speaking to other people, and there's a conversation about where is the leadership here? Who is bringing things together around Macclesfield? So, you know that the evidence is that successful collaboration is how, is how you get a town to thrive. It doesn't work without that. And we have great community spirit. We have great spirit of collaboration in the town. It's mobilising it. And obviously no organisation can do it on its own. The town council can't do it on its own, but it can take a role in galvanising or facilitating a single point of coordination, a single point of information, a single point of reference, something that can begin to support people to think about immediate issues as we start to come out of crisis towards recovery and long-term recovery and transformation. It's a long project. You can start now. So it seems to be a kind of perfect moment, if you forgive me, Pete, for saying this. You're recruiting a new clerk. You know, if that person doesn't come to interviews this week bursting with new ideas on how to do that, then they're not worth their salt. And I think you've also been discussing, I couldn't quite understand it, but looking at the pack of minutes, are you about to appoint a town centre manager or a new member of the team? You know, is this something that person could be put straight onto it? And from my reading of the accounts, you've got money. So there are specific ideas from at the one end. You know, you could be doing very immediate things like coming up with a toolkit to help independent businesses, something about building confidence. You know, if people are going to come into town to go to these shops, where is there a loo? You wouldn't know. I was looking at Stroud Town Council tweets, which is great. They're always telling people where things are and when they're open and what you can do. And what about parking? How would anybody find out what the parking situation is in Macclesfield at the moment? You could have people, maybe the town rangers could be using to solve pinch points in the town. You know, can you repurpose some of the outdoor spaces, or, you know, could we pedestrianise temporarily close Sunderland Street on a Friday night to let the bars spill out? They've done it in Deansgate. Is that good? You know, there are specific things like this, gathering feedback. And then, of course, there's the long term. We've got loads of ideas for the long term. We've talked about them for years. I'm sure you, like me, have been part of those conversations, but they haven't happened. So effective collaboration now is what we need to start thinking about the strategic plan. You've got a vision strategy document, which is full of a huge amount of really brilliant actions, but it doesn't give any sense of priorities or a strategy or how you're going to achieve it. There's a whole load of them which say that there's no action and you're waiting for Cheshire East to come back. And I think this is a moment when we need to redouble our efforts to find a platform to do that, some sort of partnership, some sort of collaboration. You don't have to deliver it, but you can facilitate it. You can galvanise those responses. So that's it. I think you've probably got the gist. I don't know if that's maybe more than 3 minutes, but I'd like to ask the Town Council to seriously look at what they can do to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Well, there's plenty of food for thought there. So, anyone want to make a comment? We have plenty to think about there. That's what I would say. And I think we've got this. It's live, as we know. It's going out on YouTube. It's recorded. We can certainly go over the words and the statement that you made there, Lynn. And it is very interesting. A lot of what you're saying, is not down to the Town Council, as you said yourself, but we can take opportunities to try to work in partnership with other organisations and with Cheshire East, which we do, and we are giving our points of view to Cheshire East. But obviously with the coronavirus at the moment, the situation has not been easy for anybody, but hopefully we're coming out of it now. So now is the opportunity to progress, and so I thank you for those points, very well made, and I'm sure we will certainly be looking at those and seeing where we can take them forward. So thank you very much, Lynn. Now you're welcome to stay and listen to more if you wish to, or you can always leave and you can catch it on YouTube. It's going out live now anyway, so so thank you again. Now I believe that we also have a statement from Councillor Liz Braithwaite. She is also wanting to speak in the public speaking section. So Mr. Turner, are you going to read her statement?
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
is from Cheshire East Councillor Liz Braithwaite. I ask councillors to consider whether Regulation 8 of the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014 decisions and background papers to be made available to the public is being met by Maxwell Town Council in regard to virtual committee and full council meetings. For example, the background papers to this meeting were provided to me with less than 24 hours to provide a submission received late afternoon Thursday, 11th of June, deadline noon, 12th of June. The document consists of 390 pages which were not searchable, and there is no reference in the agenda to which pages are relevant to each item. This makes it impractical to take a considered view of the agenda items and make timely representations to either my ward councillor or to the full council meeting on the 15th of June 2020. Could the councillors consider making background documents available online with investment in technology if necessary for future meetings? I understand that Bollington Town Council took the approach as part of their disaster recovery plan and were therefore prepared for the impact of lockdown. I would like a written response, please. Thank you for your time.
So thank you for that, Mr. Turner. And I think we obviously have considered that statement by Councillor Braithwaite, and we will certainly respond to her in due course. At that point now, I think we can come to the end of the public speaking section and move on into the agenda as such, and we would move now to item 3, which is minutes of the meeting of full council held on the 16th of March to approve the minutes as a true record. Do I have a proposer for these minutes? Yes, Councillor Wilson, and a seconder. Yes, Councillor Wilcock. So all those in favour of those minutes, if you show, please. Thank you. Those are passed. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Warren, are you abstaining due to not being present?
Thank you. So item 4, matters arising from those minutes. Are there any matters arising? No. Okay, we'll then move on to item 5, which is minutes of the planning committees on the 1st of May and on the 22nd of May. And this is just to note these minutes. So is everyone happy with those minutes? No, we'll note those. Thank you. And then, are there any matters arising? I don't believe there are. So thank you. So we'll move on to item 6, which are the minutes of the finance committees on the 27th of April and the 8th of May. And again, it's to note those minutes. Everyone happy that we note those minutes? Thank you. Matters arising. Yes, Councillor Wilcock.
Just to make a point on the draft minutes of the Finance Committee, shouldn't it be reading the 8th of June, not the 8th of May?
Ah, well spotted, Councillor Wilcock. Very good. 8th of June. So I'll repeat again then. Minutes of Finance Committee 27th of April and the 8th of June. Are we all happy to note those? Yes, thank you. Matters arising, 6.3 is spend to date to approve the spend to date of £48,971 and 2p. So do I have a proposer for the approving? Yes, Councillor Puttick. And do we have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Wilson, thank you. So we'll move to the vote on that. All those in favour? Thank you. So that's again approved. Do we have any against? So do we have Councillor Warren? I can't. Sorry, you need to.
Abstain. I wasn't present at the meeting, Chair.
Well, neither was I. I'm just noting the minutes. Oh, go on. Yes, Councillor. Yes, Clark.
Just to clarify to everyone, this is not approving minutes. This is to approve the spend to date, which is a requirement of council to approve our spend. So you don't have to attend the Finance Committee to approve the spend. It's recommended by Finance Committee to council.
Yes, it's to approve the spend. You don't need to have been at the Finance Committee. So are you willing to approve the spend, Councillor Warren? Thank you. So that's unanimous then. Thank you. So we'll then move on to item 7, minutes of the Services Committee. And this is draft minutes of the Services Committee on the 11th of May. No, it is May. It is what it says there. It is May. You're making me question myself now. So the minutes of the Services Committee on the 11th of May, we note those. Everyone happy to note them? Thank you. Matters arising. Anyone have any matters arising? No. Okay, so we'll move on from that. We then come to item 8, which is the coronavirus COVID-19 interim decisions. At 8.1, we had the emergency scheme of delegation, and this is to approve the agreed scheme of delegation. Do I have any speakers, or do I have a proposer for this? Anyone? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose the emergency scheme of delegation that we adopted as a result of the coronavirus crisis, adopted in accordance with the appropriate legislation and guidelines.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Yes, Councillor Shenton. Do you wish to speak, or shall we just move to the vote? So we'll move to the vote then. All those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. So then we move on to the interim decisions for ratification. So these were the decisions taken under that delegation. Do I have a proposer for those? Councillor Wilcock, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Wilson, thank you. So we can go to the vote on that one. All those in favour? Thank you. Again, unanimous. So we then move on to item 9, community delivery. 9.1, Citizens Advice Bureau, and this is the report from the CAB, giving their report to us on the use of the grants that the town council gives to them. So we're just really to note this report. Do I have anyone wishing to comment on the report? Yes, Councillor Bennett-Wake.
Yeah, just to express our gratitude to Citizens Advice, before and during the COVID-19 crisis. They've helped a number of residents from Herdsfield, where I represent residents there. And they have the number of people that they've supported has risen significantly over the COVID-19 crisis. So it was just to express our gratitude, really.
Thank you for that. Yes, they're doing a great job and really very much needed in this time of crisis. So we're just noting this report. So if everyone's happy with that, we'll move on to the governance review. And these are a number of policy documents that are held by the council, which we have as a rolling programme, and they come up for review. I'm going to take them one at a time and ask for speakers as we go along. So we'll start off with 10.1. There may be speakers wanting to make comment on amendments on a whole with these policy documents. So I'm quite happy to take that also as a proposal if there are amendments that need to cut across all the policies. We can deal with that, and we can also deal with them as individual policies. Because what I want to do is to keep them all as live policies, and where we need to make amendments, if we can approve them here and now, if there are amendments that are required and more work is required on the document, I'd like to keep the document live, and it can be worked on and brought back at a later time with the amendments, rather than deferring the documents, which means we can then have quite a big backlog of documents at a future meeting. So that's how I'd like them to deal with them, and I think you know, I'm sure you'd all be happy with that. So I'll take 10.1 to start with, the grants policy. Thank you. Any speakers?
Sorry, Chair, to interrupt. For clarification, I think Councillor Bennett-Wake wished to speak just before you went on to one by.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Madam Mayor. It's just, I was thinking of coming in at 10.2 on standing orders, but since you're taking the policies on block and specifically for standing orders, it does refer to chairman throughout, and as we can see that our lovely Mayor, Councillor Janet Jackson, is a woman. And actually over the last 20 years, we've had 12 women mayors, and we have chairs of female chairs of committees. We have Councillor Ailith Harewood, who's also been one of our female mayors. Madam Mayor Janet Jackson also chairs committee meetings, as does Councillor Fiona Wilson. So I think that chairman is a particularly outdated phrase. And my lovely niece, who's just finished an access to education, higher education course, has sent me some quotes from her latest essay. And basically there's a feminist called Suzanne Romain suggests that while terms such as chairman and spokesman might have been more prevalent in the 60s and 70s, continuing to use this should be a source of great embarrassment. And I'd hate for Macclesfield Town Council, a town that's predominantly known as a women's town, to be a source of embarrassment in any of our policies. The term in the 21st century should be a gender neutral term. So the term chair should be used throughout. The language in any council documents should be gender neutral, not just because of the male-female divide, because some people now consider themselves to be non-binary or trans, and it is the 21st century, and June is traditionally known as Pride Month as well. So I think in light of us, you know, not being in the 60s and 70s, there are a lot of women representatives in Macclesfield that we use the term chair, they, people, so gender neutral language throughout. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett-Waite. Well, I think, you know, if you're proposing that, I think you'd be proposing it as a general rule across all our policies. I believe that's what you wish to be. So if that's seconded, we can, thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is everyone happy to take a vote on that? And then we're stating that that's the policy, and that will happen across all our various documents. So if we can have a vote on that, please. All those in favour of that? Thank you. Yes, that's carried. Thank you. So that will now be, will happen across all our documents, policy documents. So if we just go down the policies, as I said, individually, 10.1, the grants policy. Yes, Councillor Puttick?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just say it was great to hear Councillor Bennett-Waite there speak to make that amendment, and I think that's a brilliant move on her part. Just from my experience on the Finance Committee, that for 10.1, that we really begin to work towards one very simple language that means that grants donations policy is open to as many people as it can possibly be. We're talking about this in line with the town. Lynn Jones talked earlier about the town centre, making it as legible and easy to understand, and I think that our policy should be the same as that. So I'm just going to suggest for now that we work towards that. But two, that where possible we begin to take on the idea of keeping money in the local economy. So when we make that clear from the beginning to people that we're looking for projects that help investment in the local economy. And three, to honour our climate change response to the climate, that we put that explicitly in the first part of this policy, to say that we think that we want to see any of these policies working with that. So I just thought it's something that we can work towards, but I thought I'd mention that.
Well, thank you, Councillor Puttick. I think what I would suggest to you is, and you obviously identified the grants policy, I would suggest to you that you look at that policy and you draw up amendments following what, you know, the line you've just stated, using this document as an example of what you want to see, and actually draw those amendments up, and then you can bring that back to the council to then approve those amendments. I think if councillors have views on documents where they want them to be written in a different way, or, you know, additions to the documents, then they need to draw those up and then put them to council. I think it's much better to have it there in writing for the councillors to see than asking the officers to do the work on the documents for us. In a way, we should be, you know, we should be making those points ourselves and drawing the wording up to assist them. So, are we happy with the grants policy? Can we approve that one? So, can I have a proposer and a seconder for the grants policy, please? Neil, do you want to propose the policy as it stands? I can't hear you.
Madam Mayor, just that we're, yeah, I'm happy to propose it, but I'm going to be working towards how we can change that as well. So, yeah.
Well, that's fine, because that's what I want to make clear to all councillors. If there are issues with a policy, you need to state what those issues are and draw them up and have them there as changes of wording, as we have got some others identified later on in the on the policies here. And I think that's what needs to be done, rather than just general intentions. I think we have to be specific. So you're proposing the grants policy. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. So all those in favour of the grants policy? Thank you, that's unanimous. We'll move on now to standing orders 10.2. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
I have a number of amendments to the standing orders, in addition to the one we've just discussed that Councillor Bennett-Waite moved and I seconded about general neutral language. Shall I go through them one by one, Mayor? Yeah, okay, so on page 79, paragraph 4.4, line 6, I want to add and will consult with the chair of the forthcoming meeting if the proposed item is considered improper between item and however. This is to bring this standing order in line with standing order 10.5 on page 88. Standing order 10.5 relates to whether a motion put forward is considered improper. And if a motion considered improper, the town clerk will liaise with the chair or the mayor to establish whether that motion should be allowed or not, with retaining the right of the town clerk to reject that. It's the town clerk's right to reject that, but there is consultation with the mayor or the chair. So I would like this particular rule brought in line with that. This rule is about member items. And I think if member items are considered improper, that referral should be made to the chair of the committee or the mayor before the town clerk makes a final decision. So I want the amendments to become the treatment of motions from councillors and member items from councillors to be consistent. Should I go through them all, Mayor?
Sorry about that, I've muted myself. Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think that would be great.
There's, in some of the standing orders, there are references to other standing orders that no longer exist. So, for example, page 79, paragraph 4.7 refers to standing order 3.0, which we don't have. 4.8 refers to standing order 3G, which we don't have. So I think this is an item where, in bringing forward the model documents from NALC at the last meeting, there's been, as there's been some changes in pagination. I think some of the rule references have changed, and I think we need to have a look at that. Only in terms of doing that review to come back to a future meeting. I completely concur with you, Mayor, about how that would. We want it to be a living document. I'm not suggesting that this will stop the document being continued to be used. It's just something we need to have a look at. For the standing orders will need to be reviewed and updated to remove or amend as required these references. Page 98, paragraph 20.1 should refer to standing order 10 and not standing order 11. Standing order 11 is about raising items at meetings without notice, whereas standing order 10 is about giving appropriate notice to raise items. And paragraph 20 relates to staffing matters, and it's entirely appropriate if a councillor wants to raise a staffing matter, they should give notice in advance. Same section, paragraph 20.2 and 20.3 provide for line management oversight of the town clerk regarding absence and appraisal to be by the chair of personnel. This is inconsistent with our personnel committee terms of reference, which state that this is the mayor, the deputy mayor and the chair of personnel. So I suggest that we leave this as it is, but change the terms of reference to be chair of personnel, as this role is likely to be consistent rather than the mayor's role, which we would expect to change every year. Page 98, paragraphs 20.6 references Two other standing orders are inaccurate and require review. Due to reformatting, there are numerous cross-references that do not flow, and so would warrant a full review to ensure accuracy. And once updated, the standing orders would be returned to council for a further vote. Finally, throughout the document, there are references to either the proper officer or the town clerk. In our case of Macclesfield Town Council, that is the same person. So I suggest that we refer to the town clerk throughout. I did submit all these amendments in writing, as you all know, but I think as the meeting is being streamed live on YouTube, it's important for me to explain these amendments, but these amendments were submitted in writing in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So any other comments on the standing orders document? So do I have a proposer for those amendments? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Puttick, thank you. So we'll move to the vote on that. All those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. So then we'll move on to the volunteers policy, which has been updated. No comment on that. What I will do is I'll work down the documents. While I have no comment, I will take it that it is for approval, but we will take them all on block as we go down. We'll do that. So volunteers policy, no comment. Retention policy, no comment. Continuity plan, no comment. Allotment policy, no comment on that. Communication and marketing policy. Then we have the co-option policy. The decision book. The loan working policy. The Mayor's Allowance Scheme. Recording at meetings policy. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you very much. I did submit some amendments in writing for this policy, the vast majority of which have been dealt with by the global decision we've made to have gender neutral language in our policies. So there's one amendment I want to make to this policy, and this is to section 4.5, paragraph 17, where I'd like to insert the words "in advance" at the end of this particular section. This section relates to members of the public recording council meetings, and that permission to then subsequently publish those recordings, permission has to be given. So we'd have to agree for permission to separately publish those recordings. I believe that permission should be given in advance, so everyone's clear. If there's going to be a recording taking place, you've given your permission in advance. And if you don't give permission in advance, you're not recorded in the first place. That is the same we would apply to minors or other issues or members of the public. And so I think to be consistent, I wish those words to be added to the end of that section.
Thank you. Before we take that, can we just take the policies 10.3 through to 10.11? So that's volunteers policy through to the Mayor's Allowance Scheme. Though none of those had any comments on them. So I'd like to take those on block, and then we'll take the recording at meetings separately. So those documents that I've just listed, could I have a mover for those, please? Councillor Edwards, and a seconder, Councillor Shenton, thank you. So all those in favour of those documents, please. Thank you, that's unanimous. Then we come to 10.12, recording at meetings policy. And Councillor Wilson, you stated the amendment that you wish to make. So I'm assuming obviously you're proposing that. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Yes, Councillor Bennett-Wake. So if there are no other comments, we'll move to the vote on that, please. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous, thank you. So then we move to document 10.13, training and development policy. Then the member stroke officer protocol. Then now I'll take these two together before we move on to 10.15 and 10.16, because there may be some, we may need to discuss these further documents. So 10.13 and 10.14, do I have a proposer for those, please? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Have a seconder? Councillor Wilcock, thank you. So those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous. And then finally now we come on to policy 10.15, the complaints policy, and we also have 10.16, which is the health and safety policy. So do I have any speakers on either of those policies, please? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Both of these policies were referred to the Personnel Committee for review. The complaints procedure was referred to the Personnel Committee to establish a procedure where a complaint is made about the town clerk. And you'll see on page 250 of your pack, the appropriate amendment, which is for us, the Personnel Committee will set up a small subgroup to hear complaints about the town clerk, for which the appeal process will be to full council, and the members of the Personnel Committee who took part in the original decision will then recluse themselves and not take part in that decision. This is something that we've taken advice from Calcova, and the Personnel Committee believe that this is an appropriate procedure because the complaints procedure actually expects the town clerk to deal with all complaints, and of course that person could not deal with complaints about themselves. That would be inappropriate. So we really wanted to regularise something that we have realised the policy was deficient under, and this is a recommendation from the Personnel Committee.
Thank you. Thank you. We also have 10.16, which is the health and safety policy. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, again, thank you. This policy was a health and safety policy was considered at the last full council meeting, and a number of us expressed concerns about it being out of date in terms of current health and safety practice. We therefore referred the health and safety policy to the Personnel Committee, and the Personnel Committee have brought forward what is a very different policy to the one we looked at our last meeting in March. It's been provided by Wirehouse, who are our HR advisors, and the Personnel Committee have gone through this in detail. It also includes a staff handbook, and so the Personnel Committee also recommend this policy as being up to date and an appropriate policy along with the staff handbook for the Town Council going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So are there any other comments on these two documents? If not, I'll take them both together. And so do I have a proposer for these two documents? Yes, Councillor Wilson, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bennett-Wake, thank you. So all those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. So thank you for that, and we'll move on to item 11, which is resource review. And this is to consider the recommended review. which was approved in principle by Council in March and sent to Personnel Committee to refine the detail. And so it's now back to Council for implementation as recommended by Personnel Committee. Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you very much. As Chair of the Personnel Committee, I'm very pleased to report back to full Council on the deliberations and actions we've taken to bring forward this very important resources review to increase the staff that we are going to need in the future to improve and develop services for the people of Macclesfield. As you've already said, the original review was received by Council in March. It was referred to the Personnel Committee to look at the detail, and we are now recommending a number of measures to enable us to improve our service and delivery, which we need to have more staff to do. There's lots to do. We've got a fantastic strategy, and we need to develop that and have staff to implement it. So the review is proposing additional resources for both our events and communications work, including our town centre development, and also our administration and governance work. We're proposing a new full-time post of the Events and Communications Officer and Town Centre Manager, because there really is lots of work to do in our town centres. We heard from our speaker in the public speaking section, and this will give us the resources to be able to deliver on those issues, to continue to deliver on those issues. And the other proposal is to extend the role of the Civic Administration Officer by increasing the hours of that staff member, and also a refocus on admin and governance. As I said, these are really key resources we need to support our ambitious strategy, and we will continue to work to ensure open communications with current post holders to deliver the ambitious strategy the council has that needs these additional resources. So I have proposals to make, but before I make the proposals, perhaps I'll pause in case there are any questions from councillors.
Thank you. Anyone wish? Yes, Councillor Edwards.
Sorry about that, folks. Yes, we're going to have this new town centre officer. Is there any overlap with this Jo Wise lady? I'm not quite sure what she does, but I didn't find it very satisfactory, the reply that I had about Castle Street and the stone and that sort of thing. I just wonder, I'm not in any way doubting that as a town council it would be very nice to have a town centre officer, but I wonder if she will take over some of the work from Jo Wise. Thank you.
Councillor Edwards, I don't think that is the intention. The intention is really to work within our office, representing the town council, but obviously we'll be negotiating with Cheshire East and with the businesses in the town. And this officer will be working and will be responsible to Helena Gowler as our officer at the council. They will work under Helena, and yes, it's I think maybe it's not quite the structure that you were imagining it to be. But Mr. Turner, you wanted to come in on this question, did you?
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, the officer that Councillor Edwards refers to is a Cheshire East officer associated with town centre regeneration in Macclesfield and taking forward their capital projects in town. The new post is to build on the development of the various events the Town Council has delivered in the town centre, with the schedule in the year previous. Obviously things are very different this year because of the situation of 40 or more events in a year from the office. This will build on that and may equally theoretically address some of the issues raised by Lynn Jones at the start of the meeting, engaging with businesses, promoting the town centre, finding opportunities for the town to benefit from its great setting and great opportunities. That's the principle of it, and it's to allow them for greater, broader town-wide community engagement by creating greater capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Councillor Edwards, is that fine for you?
Yes, could I just come back? I wish to apologise for mentioning the officer's name, and any criticism was not intended. It's just a matter of procedure, really. I do apologise.
Thank you. Okay, yes, Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. I just want it to be noted for the for people watching on YouTube, and for people here, the incredible amount of work that we're very lucky to have some very good staff as part of the town council undertaking an awful lot of work, and this is such a capacity issue that really we already the staff that are working are already working at capacity for so many different projects, and we really in order to make it value for money, we need to look at this change. The other thing is that people watching on YouTube might not see the comparison with other town councils, and that means that actually they have more staff and more capacity. So I'd just like to, so obviously saying what a good job. We've been very lucky to have these people that work this way, and we now have an opportunity to improve, particularly due to the success of our events officers. You know, we've as the clerk mentioned, we've got an awful lot of different events, talking to different audiences, different groups around the town, and we want to make the most of that. My final point really is that we've very successfully worked in partnership, and this is this idea of the town council as a catalyst that we so we work very successfully with ANSA to manage the town ranger scheme, and that means that we get the best that we can out of Cheshire East and arm's length services, as well as great service for ourselves. Going forward, I'd like to look at how we can increase relationships with other town councils and connections as well, to make sure we get a really good provision of service.
Thank you, Councillor Puttick. Okay, so do I have a proposer then for the resource review? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Chair. If you look on page 252 of your pack, you'll see there are 6 proposals there. And what I would want to propose is that full council agrees with points 1 and 5. That's the recommendation for the additional events and communications officer. And point number 5 is that the civic and administration officer review is approved and redefined as a new post, admin and governance manager, with an increase in hours to 25 hours a week. The other points, 2, 3 and 4, will need delegating to the personnel committee once the decision on 1 and 5 is taken, because those are the practical aspects of this, to approve the new job description and have consultation with the existing post holders, and to bring all this back to a future full council meeting.
Thank you. And point 6, which speaks for itself, really.
Point 6 brings it back to the full council meeting. Exactly. Yeah.
Speaks for itself, yes. Okay, so that's your proposal. Do I have a seconder for that? Yes, Councillor Bennett-Waite, thank you. And so I'll move to the vote on that. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous, thank you. So we'll now move on to item 12, annual actions and report. 12.1 is a schedule of meetings, which of course are subject to ongoing review through the year, and committee membership, which these need to be approved. So we need a vote on these. So items 12.1 and 12.2. Do I have any comments on these, or do you wish to just move to the vote on these? Anyone wish to say anything? Any comments? No. So do I have a proposer for these, please? I'll propose them then. And a seconder, Councillor Edwards. So these are proposed and seconded. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. And then 12.3 is the annual report. That's just for noting. So I hope you've read it. Again, you know, we're talking about all the tremendous events that we do, and this is why, you know, we now need another member of staff, because we are doing so much in the town, and that gives you a little overview of what we have done over the past year and what we continue to do. So we'll move on then to item 13, which is the audit, and this is to approve the annual audit and return and the internal audit for 2019-2020. Yeah, was that you, Neil? Yes, Neil. Councillor Puttick.
I move that we approve the points.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Wilson, thank you. Any comments, or shall we just move to the vote? So all those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous. Item 14, casual vacancies. These are both just for noting. 14.1 is the Western and Ivy Ward co-option, and this will be going to a meeting, an extraordinary meeting of council that has been called for the 29th of June, and there will be 3 candidates for this seat. 14.2, Central Ward. We have a vacancy on Central Ward for the Town Council, and this was advertised on the 10th of June and will be advertised for the 14 days, the 2 weeks, and dependent on the response, it will either be a co-opted seat, or if it's called for election, then the election will have to be May next year. We're not able to hold an election before then. So we await events on Central Ward. Do I have any comments from anyone on that? These are just to be noted. Fine. Right, so we will move on from there to item 15, which is member items, and we have an item from Councillor Wilson, who is proposing Macclesfield to Manchester cycle route, and she will give a short report on her item. Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. This particular issue has been raised by myself on a couple of occasions in the past, but what's brought it back to my mind now is the work we've all done recently in our wards about the COVID-19 response to develop safer walking and cycling routes. We need to extend this to have a wider reach, and when I used to work in Manchester, I used to be horrified by cyclists trying to cycle down Bonnyshall Lane on into Manchester, which seemed exceptionally unsafe to me. And I think that we have the opportunity now, with a refocus from the COVID-19 problems, to create a really excellent service for people to cycle into Stockport and onto Manchester. It's really a matter of pulling together a range of things that already exist, because the Middlewood Way is a cycle route from Macclesfield on into Marple, and then there are other cycle routes that lead from there onto Stockport train station and into the centre of Manchester. They're existing natural cycle routes. So what I would like us to do is pull all this together into one cycle route that would take somebody from Macclesfield from Macclesfield to Bollington, onto the other towns in between, into Stockport, and then on to Manchester. Tied in with this is that this full council has previously already agreed that we would wish to light the Middlewood Way. We want to use solar lighting to improve the Middlewood Way. And we agreed at our full council meeting on the 15th of July 2019 that we would deliver lighting for the Middlewood Way. And at that stage, the cost was just under £30,000. Now, we were waiting for a report back on whether Cheshire East would be able to cover that cost, but I think that's extremely unlikely in the current circumstances. And we did agree if Cheshire East couldn't cover that cost, we would cover it ourselves. So we've already made an in-principle decision that we will pay to relight the Middlewood Way. It was lit, and I used to use it myself very frequently for exercise, etc. So I believe now is the time to re-energise our efforts into creating a safe off-road cycle route into Manchester for the benefit of people who wish now to travel to work during the COVID crisis. And I have a proposal to make as to how we do this, Chair, but maybe I'd like, if possible, to see if any councillors have got any questions before I move to a proposal about how we take this forward. Thank you.
So is there anyone wanting to make a comment? Or yes, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. I wholeheartedly support Councillor Wilson on this. I have to say that I do find it very frustrating, can I say that, with developers and so on. Councillor Roberts and I have an ongoing problem of getting a new cycle route going. I just don't know. I mean, there was no correspondence at all between, when was it, Councillor Roberts? November and March, I think. No replies, no comments, nothing about this cycleway, and I would like to us to have some teeth as a town council and get these cycle routes done somehow. I think that there's various things that we've got to do as a town. One is charging points. We've got to have the sprinklers in the new buildings, and we got to have decent cycle routes. And I will support you in any way I can with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Yes, Councillor Roberts.
Yeah, I'd just like to convey my support for Councillor Wilson's proposal, but not only for the connection, the cycle paths, but there's a lot of people who use it to walk to Bollington, and especially the school children at Teddington. A lot of the buses have been taken off, cancelled, and therefore they were expected to walk down the Middlewood Way to school. Well, if you can imagine, in winter, some people setting off at 7:30 in the dark, leaving school at 3:30, practically dark. It's not very safe if it's unlit. So yeah, I'm all for any proposal that Councillor Wilson puts forward on this subject. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Yes, I mean, going back in the old day, Mac Borough Council had a policy on developments for S106 monies for promoting cycle routes, and tried to ensure that developers actually included cycle routes in their schemes. And in fact, they did quite a few, but unfortunately, they don't all join up with each other. That's the problem. You know, there's not a lot of joining up there. But I'm sure there may well be, even at this stage, possibly some S106 money that might be available. It's certainly worth investigating to see how that might be spent to help in and around the town to join up some of the cycle routes. But I think you've certainly got the support of all the councillors here at the Town Council, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Puttick, you wanting to speak? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I was just I think it's a very good proposal from Councillor Wilson, particularly because of the fact that it's based on where people want to go, on what information we have about people using bikes to get to places. And I would say not just Stockport Station, but Macclesfield Station is very much a hub. And what you were saying there about the lack of connectivity between these different cycling routes, I can completely agree with you, because if you look back through Cheshire East objectives over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of talk about connecting these places, but not recognising that Macclesfield Station is a major hub to the two main cities close to us that for business, for all sorts of things. And we need to make our offer for cycling not just a leisure one. We need to. It's wonderful that we have so many people that are discovering the joys of cycling out to Goresworth or to Martin. But this is about tackling climate change really effectively, improving health of our local people in the most effective way. And just the other point from what Councillor Roberts was saying, last year we were working very well with Bollington Council. We were talking to the cycling champion for Cheshire East. I think this is the sort of cooperation and partnership that we should be looking at, and I think that we need to lead the way with it. Yeah, which reminds me, I need to get my bike out and start seeing the path past myself. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Puttick. Right, so back to you, Councillor Wilson, if you want to just draw this together.
Yes, thank you very much. I think the important thing is that we also need to liaise with other colleagues in other councils to make this happen, because the cycle routes are there. They just aren't joined up in terms of from Macclesfield to Stockport and Manchester. So my proposal is that we seek to establish an informal project board with Manchester City Council and Stockport Borough Council, because we'll need to talk to them to make this happen, to develop the routes through, and to create a cycle route from Macclesfield to Manchester, and also to confirm our decision of the 15th of July 2019 to use our funds to pay to Solar Light Middlewood Way.
Thank you. So any other comments on that? Yes, Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. So further to Councillor Wilson's proposal, I think it's great that she's talking about working with councils, working with the cycling champion, especially with Cheshire East. I do think there needs to be an element of clearing the paths. You know, that at the moment we being able to, like, you know, the cycle paths that I see are frequently blocked by cars, or they have bars in front of them, so you can't bring certain bikes through them. They're totally dysfunctional in that sense, and that always ends up pushing cyclists into traffic and all the problems that come with that. So I think that you know, we should be quite strident about this. But yeah, I think that proposal is very sound, and I second it because of what I've heard from Bollington Town Council, because of what I've heard from the cycling champion. So I would second that as a motion.
Thank you for that, Councillor Puttick. Do I have any other comments at all? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
I did mention during my original contribution that the cost for the Middlewood Way solar lighting that we agreed in July 2019 was £29,880. I think we just need to bear in mind it might be that the price might have gone up in the last 12 months, but I think that if there is a shortfall, we could return to council to get that agreed, but we might actually find in the current circumstance that it hasn't gone up. Fingers crossed.
Yes, I think, as you say, I think it would have to just be subject to any costings, change in the costings. And obviously further costs to the scheme, we would need to be aware of those. It's an in principle decision, I would suggest. And yes, Mr. Turner.
Sorry to interrupt, Chair, just to try and help through the proposal clarity. As Councillor Wilson points out, costs may have increased, it may not have. It might be that the resolution already stands as it was made in July last year, so that's fine. It might just be that it has to return to council for ratification of any increased costs for approval later on. That's all.
Thank you for that. Right, thank you for that clarity. So I think we're all clear as to the proposal. Is everyone happy to go to the vote on that? So all those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous again, thank you. Item 16, correspondence. I don't believe we have any correspondence.
No correspondence.
Okay, yes, right, no correspondence. And final item 17, date and time and place of the next meeting. And that will be our co-option meeting, which we have already noted earlier in the meeting, 29th of June 2020 at 7 p.m. And this will be a video meeting. And that's the end of the meeting, and thank you everybody for your attendance, and good evening.